Okay, let me say this real quick. I'm not going to waste much of your time. Listen, if you live abroad, let's face reality. Where you live, the country that you live in, is home. Africa, where you come from, is where you visit and go for vacation. The country that you go to 2 weeks after, a month after, you want to run back to your country that you live in, where you pay taxes, where your kids go to school, where your wife and your kids live, is your home. So if you live in Europe, the United States, the UK, Canada, that is your home. Africa is where you visit. Stop deceiving yourselves, Africans. If you're building a mansion back home, you're not building it for your wife and your kids, because your kids will not relocate to go to that your mansion. By the time your kids are of age, that mansion is outdated. They won't like that mansion. So what you have to do is to learn to understand that where you live right now abroad is your home. Stop fooling yourself. You want to build a house in Africa so your cousins, your uncles, your aunties, your friends will applaud you. Meanwhile, overseas, abroad where you live in an apartment. 2 bedroom. You can't give your wife and your kids a better life because you're trying to prove a point back home in Africa. Your kids will never relocate. Let me bust your bubble. The children, your kids that you have abroad, are not Nigerians. They are not Africans anymore. A lot of us think, oh, we have kids abroad, they will relocate back home. Where are they going to? A country where there is no light. A country where there is no security. You think your wife and your kids will relocate back to Africa if you die today, and they will never get any of those pieces of land. They will never live in that mansion that you built. Your family will never give them peace. So you have to start learning to invest in the country where you live now, the country where your kids go to school, the country where your wife lives, the country where you pay taxes, where you work. That is your home. If you can't give your wife and your kids the best life that they can get while you are alive, the life that you're trying to build for them in Africa will never exist, because they're not going there to relocate there to go and suffer. A country where somebody can be killed overnight, nothing will happen. A country where nothing is moving forward. There's no life for businesses. How many of our kids today abroad do you think will relocate back home? They're not going back home. The kids that you have in America, they are Americans. They're not Nigerians. Bitter truth. The kids we have abroad, this is the country where they belong to. They don't belong to Nigeria. And they're not going. Except your kids are cursed. Except your kids are not doing well. Except your kids are just wayward. That's the only time they want to go back home to start fighting over your property. Because a lot of you guys watching me right now, all your investment is back home in Nigeria, in Africa, in Cameroon, in Ghana, in Congo, in Togo. And you have nothing left in this country where you live, America, UK, Europe. You have nothing left for your kids and your wife to live with when you are no more here. You're fooling yourself because you're trying to impress people back home who don't even care about you. They care about your money. They don't care about what you're doing for them. If you stop doing it, then they tell you how wicked you are. Your kids, your wives must be good in that country where you live before you build anything. Let me tell you one thing. If you live abroad, whatever that is a leftover, the remnants, things that you don't need again, the extra money that you have is what you send back home, not the reverse. So if you have a mansion back home and you live in an apartment and you have a wife and kids abroad, you are not living a good life. You are living the opposite. You should be able to have a house in Europe abroad where you live and give your wife and kids the best life. Then before you start thinking of doing something back home, which your kids and your wife will never move to. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. Europe, the country where you live now, is home. Africa, Nigeria, or any country in Africa is where you visit for now. Until you relocate fully to Africa, the country that you live now is your home. Stop the ignorance like you don't know. Your kids don't want that investment in Nigeria. Your kids don't want that investment in Ghana. They don't want it. They don't need it. When they grow up to the point where they become independent, they're not going to Onitsha. They're not going to Ghana. They're not going to Accra. They're not going to Abuja. They're not going to Lagos. They don't want any of those properties that you have. You did that for your own family or for yourself, not for your wife and kids. What your kids want, what your kids want to live by is what you have in Europe, that you live with them, that you have them, that they go to school. That's where they have friends. That's where they have classmates. The country you live abroad is where your children are from. They're not Nigerians if you had them abroad. Let's stop deceiving ourselves, okay? Abroad that you live is your home. Africa that you visit for 2 weeks, a month, to run back to work abroad, to start paying your bills, pay taxes. You live there, you have a house. Your wife live in is home. Not Africa that you go to every 4 years or every 5 years. Let's stop deceiving ourselves, bro. Think twice, retrace your steps. No investments back home in Africa that your kids will take charge, will take over, except they are being cost. Because they don't need none of that. The houses that you build will be outdated in years to come. They won't like it. Your investment there, they're not gone. They're used to the Western world. This is home. As long as you live abroad, for now, this is home. Thank you so much for watching.